Good morning. Monday morning. I guess you'd say this is like I'm even losing track, part four or whatever. But what I want to talk about is the lack of prestige in news media. Now we have no real news media anymore. You might get a snippet out of the Washington Post or the LA or New York Times, but not much, or the Christian Science Monitor. He used to be able to rely on Rolling Stone, which used to do some really good research articles, but they fucked up on this last one where the girl reported a rape and they did a big story on it and then ended up getting sued because it never really happened. But what we have now is news for money, and it just destroys news. Back when you had Walter Cronkite and Eric Sevareid and people that were respected by the entire nation and by politicians and by people alike, the news department often lost money, but it was the prestige of bringing you hard-raking stories from the front lines in Vietnam or from protests or from the floor of the convention and all. But it was honest, good news. It was research. It was as I said, it was frontline. It was right in your face, and you believed what these people said. Now, all the between MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, all they want is ratings. They don't give two craps. They want to put some big titty girl out there, blonde or something, then that's fine. Nobody, the people that tune in to see her just tune in to look at her, not to hear what she's saying. And they bring in the same talking heads all the time. That before they open their mouth, you know what they're going to say. Why pay somebody that's all like a CNN that's that admittedly is still being paid by the Trump organization to comment on Trump's campaign? It doesn't make any sense. And they made Trump the winner. No one else did. In the beginning, everybody laughed at him, but he was good comedy. People would tune in, and so they covered every stupid thing he said. No one else got the coverage that he did. He got hundreds of millions of dollars of free advertising because people would tune in. They didn't give a shit if they were telling the truth. Trump would be quoting some idiot that made up a story on the internet, and he'd be using that for a source, and then he'd later on say, "Well, I wasn't the source of that information," but yet even after it was proven to be a lie, he'd keep quoting it, and they'd keep showing him doing it. He he brought in the audience, and that's what was necessary. So no one gave him any hard questions. No one put him online about his foundation or about Trump University or these things. These were sidelines. They just let him spout whatever he wanted because that's would bring in the viewership. So news just went to hell. I mean, when you got what the hell was his name? I already forgot. Williams, was that the guy's name that claimed that his helicopter was shot at, and now he he does MSNBC's uh, he does MSNBC's 12 o'clock midnight show. Like, who the hell's up? And if anybody's up, they're they're watching Stephen Colbert. So anyway, but that's the problem today. We have no one want to spend. Yeah, it costs tens of millions of dollars to keep people out there. They'll talk a guy about Syria that's sitting in Ankara, that's sitting in Turkey someplace. There's nobody on the front lines. You can't pay a crew to go out there and sit there. In Vietnam, they were right there. Their lives were at risk just like everybody else's that was in the mayhem. But news, there is no news. People will Google something thinking that's it, or even worse, they go to Wikipedia, which is nothing but as Napoleon said about history, it's lies agreed upon. So we're in deep shit because we never really find out. They didn't pressure the Russians or pressure the administration to say why isn't there a special prosecutor looking into the Russians' involvement in our politics? There were so many questions that could have been answered. Why the the head of the FBI wasn't asked to resign. They couldn't force him to, but why wasn't he asked to resign? And why wasn't there a special prosecutor to look into his shenanigans? Nobody gives a shit anymore. And no news agency is going to spend the money to have someone go out and do the dirty work that covers the news. And so we're in for whatever the White House wants to release, whatever Ryan wants to release, whatever any of these jerks want to tell you. They just have somebody type something up and give it to you, and you report that as the news. It's a sad state of affairs.